Hello and welcome to another video. And wait, is this Zero's Legion's channel? No, this is still Kanajashi. We're just doing a little bit different style today as we're covering the newsletter that just released. I don't typically do this. I wait for the actually to be in the game and then I do like a patch overview or something like that. But today, there's some really interesting information in the newsletter that is highly relevant to me and I'm very invested into because it deals with the production pipeline of various components and such in Space Engineers 2. Now, for a bit of context, just recently there was a bit of controversy where Keen had come out and said that ingots are going to be absent in Space Engineers 2. You're going to go directly from ore to components. No need for a refinery in between to take your ores to ingots first. And obviously, that's a little concerning. They're getting rid of one of the main steps of processing resources. Are they making it too simple? Well, there's a lot of people out there who would actually like to have it a bit more complex. I mean, currently with Space Engineers, you just need two blocks. You need the refinery and you need the assembler. And then with those two blocks, you can make just everything. You don't need anything else beyond that. So with a very small amount of industry, you can theoretically make whatever you want. Where some of us would like it to be a bit more complicated, not super complicated, not like satisfactory or factorial levels. Like those you need like a calculator and a spreadsheet in order to be able to play properly, but just a bit more in depth. And so we were concerned, obviously. This newsletter alleviates all that concern for me because this is going to be quite interesting how they're setting it up going on in the future. So with the newsletter, they got a big write-up and an image, which I'll put up on the screen now. And the main thing from this is you are no longer going to be able to go from like ores to ingots to components, but there's going to be multiple steps to go from ores to components to then other components to other components. There's going to be components being the prerequisite for other components. And, ooh, this is really interesting. For example, on this diagram we have here, in order to build a high-tech component, we will both need refinery components and complex components, and those complex components will need simple components, which are then made from their own raw materials on a different production pipeline with the smelter, the refinery, the assembler, and all that stuff. So you are going to need multiple pieces of industry and do multiple different components being crafted in order to build something high tech. This is very familiar. I wonder where we saw this before. Maybe on my season in Agaris where I did industrial overhaul. This is essentially industrial overhaul light. We're only going to have the few different blocks that are going to be able to produce all the components instead of industrial overhaul where you have like a goddamn dozen or more. But we're going to have that components required to make other ones. So we just pop back into our character here. We have what was vanilla Space Engineers. This is everything you need. You have your refinery, you have your assembler, and you're done. Slap those two together, feed it with all the resources in the game, you can create everything. But it's kind of boring, not enough complex. And this is just some, but sort of a more representative sample of what it will be like in Space Engineers 2. We have from Industrial Overhaul an extruder, a wire drawer, a fabricator, and a assembler. Still called the assembler. But yeah, that's the fabricator there. For example, let's say we wanted to make, at the assembler here, a motor. Very common thing. We're going to need an electromagnet, large steel tube, and copper wire. So we're needing, first off, components like the large steel tube to build something else. It's no longer, it's just like iron and nickel and such. To build a motor, you need the previous components. So how do we get these? Well, we can build an electromagnet in a fabricator, but that electromagnet needs iron and copper wire. Well, iron is good. That's just a regular old ingot, which in Space Engine 2 will just be iron ore. But where are we getting copper wire from? Well, we can get copper wire from a wire drawer, which will use copper to create wire. So we need wire for both the electromagnet and we need it for the motor here. So we have to make multiple pieces of wire. But then also we can come back over here and we can create our large steel tube at the extruder. Now, I don't think it's going to be as complicated as Industrial Overhaul. Like, this is a bit much because this is just one thing. Like, there's also stuff like the plate stamp that entirely just makes plates and nothing else. What I think is going to happen is things like simple components. They're going to be your basic metal shapes, right? They're going to be your plates, your wire, your tubes, that kind of stuff, so that you'll be able to just make simple construction components. And this will both be in a smelter, which will be on the grid, or a backpack, which will be on your character. The refinery will be able to handle more resources, more different types of resources, and that could be stuff like your silicon, which makes like maybe makes silicon wafers. So if you want to make a computer chip in the assembler, you need silicon wafers from the refinery, and you need wire from the smelter, plus a little bit of like a maybe like a plate of some kind, and then you combine those together to make the computer chip. And I think that's going to be how this is all going to go together. And I am fully on board with this. This is going to be freaking amazing. I can't wait for this. I can't wait for that to be a part of the Space Engine 2's survival vertical slice. Whenever that comes out, I'm going to be so hard onto it. Just going to play that immediately. Going to make a new series for it. It's going to be great. Of course, always some small concerns. Nothing's ever perfect, but I'm sure these will be alleviated by mods. Like, for example, when I was doing my Season 4 playthrough, when I was using Industrial Overhaul, what I found is having the mod that allowed you to set, always have 100 of these in stock. The production queue mod. That was essential in order to keep things running, because that way I always had a little float of resources. So when I ordered something up that was high tech, it would take its prerequisite components that it needed, and then the other lower tech down the chain production buildings would automatically refill the stock. Hopefully they have something like that, some way to automate it, even if it's like high tech. Like, you have to get to the what are they called? High-tech components in order to build a logistics computer or whatever the hell they want to call it. And then once you do that, once you have that on your grid, you can like order up and always have a certain number of things in stock. Or even if that thing made it so that if I ordered a single high-tech component, it would automatically send that production down the line and say, well, if I want to make this, I need 10 of steel plates. And therefore, I'm going to tell the smelter to make me 10 steel plates. Like, hopefully they have some sort of automation when you get to late game. I can understand an early game not having that because you want to be able to appreciate that when you get to into late game, and you got to have that resource grind be a little bit harder in the early game. But even if they don't do something, a modder will, a scripter will, like, yeah, people are going to mod the hell out of that and make a automated version of it, even just the production queue mod getting transferred over, which would be more than enough. But I am just thoroughly excited about this and wanted to talk about it because this is exactly what I wanted. When I ended my season 4, I made like a retrospective video and was like, man, I wish this was in the game, but not this complex, just light version of it. And that's exactly what we're getting. Fuck yes. I'm so happy. We are getting the awesome stuff. But anyway, that's it for now. More when Vertical Slice comes out. God damn, give me that Vertical Slice. I need to play Survival, Space Engineers 2. The game just isn't the game for me unless there's a grind. I need to grind resources. But that's going to be it for now. Thanks for watching, and good hunting out there, fellow Space Engineers. Whee!